Well, good day to you. It's February the 17th. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. I want to welcome everyone to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing, and as always, if you are new to Search for Signs or if you've heard this information before, I want to just point out it's always better to educate yourself better about it, see if there's any truth to it if you don't know anything about this, by checking out the websites that I provided links for in the description portion of every one of these videos. If you're new, I would definitely recommend checking out the Share International site. You can't get a better website that talks about who and what Maitreya is and what he means for humanity than going there. If you've been there before, according to Rick Todd, and I double-checked it, they updated the site. So if you've been there before and you're like, man, they haven't updated this site since the early 90s. Can't say that anymore. It looks more like a 2023 website. So there's a lot of really good information on there. You can even read articles coming from one of these masters on that site if you're interested in doing that, because you can't get like I said, when you read Benjamin Crumb's Masters articles, that is the best way to really understand what these masters are about, what Maitreya means for humanity, the priorities of Maitreya. You can't get that anywhere else but from better than hearing it from one of these masters. So that's why I always like to recommend it. Now, you want to join the discussion, post comments, post your question in the comments section. You can email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. And people have also sent me links to articles that I like to post up on Facebook if it pertains to what we talk about. I want to thank you guys for doing that as well. But Zach Laney, Ricardo Pelsuasa-Lee, Rick Todd, Debbie Day Million, Rosie 33, Corey C, Mark Hill, and Jaime, and The Servant. You guys all commented and asked questions since the last time I put a video up, and I really do appreciate it. Even if I come across some comments that I just love to joke around and haze you a little bit, doesn't mean I don't appreciate you commenting. So what do I mean? So Jaime, what did you have to say? You said, you Luciferian Masons sure are hilarious. I am not talking about Luciferian Masons on this channel. I don't know where you came up with that one. But anyway, what did Ricardo Pelsuasa-Lee have to say in regards to what you just said, Jaime? A 6-word sentence needs elucidating. Perhaps your definition applies a more archaic, esoteric approach than a somewhat simple, meaningless statement conjured up. Now, I don't know exactly what you were saying, Ricardo, but I think I can translate it. I'm just going to guess. I think what you're saying is, to Jaime, is, what the heck are you talking about, right? Is that what you're saying? Because that's the way I took what you meant to say, and you've said it with a lot more tact than I said it. So anyway, because you're a more tactful, kinder, gentler person than I am, I guess. But thank you very much for the discussion nonetheless, Jaime. I appreciate it. Corey C., you asked, did you get the email? Yes, I did. Thank you very much for that. I love the images. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. Now, Rosie, your comment and questions was a little long. I am going to read through this along with Mark Hill's, who was a little long, and he asked some questions in there too. And I'm going to start with Mark Hill's, Rosie, if you don't mind, because I am going to kind of answer some of your questions and concerns based off of that. But I am going to go back and read yours and comment more directly and answer yours more directly. So, all right, Mark Hill. What a Christian professes to believe most times, myself being one also, is that the love of God is in their hearts now having been redeemed. Why then do we dig our heels in at a universal brotherhood through sharing? Hear, hear. I couldn't have said it better myself, or at least asked the question and posed the question better myself. I oftentimes wonder, what is the problem with sharing? You know, I mean, it really boils down to ideology, you know. And if it's not written in the Bible, then it's not true. And didn't Jesus say something about the Sabbath to the Pharisees? He said, the God made the Sabbath for man, not man for the Sabbath. I wish it would be written in the Bible. It would make things a lot easier for everyone else if he had said, God made the Bible for man, not man for the Bible. But you could kind of interchange those two, I think. But anyway, you know, and looking at socialism or sharing or things like that you're talking about, right? You look at some of the most right-wing members of Congress who are totally against sharing, totally against socialism, right? totally against universal health care, promote and go out on TV and tell their listeners that socialism and socialized medicine is evil. It's an evil, but yet they have it themselves. The members of Congress, it doesn't matter whether you're the most liberal member of Congress or the most conservative member of Congress, will have for life, because of their service in just 2 years in Congress, right? They will have for the rest of their lives, themselves and their family, health care that you and I can only dream of. That doesn't cost them anything. It's all taxpayer, paid for health care. But yet they turn around and tell us how evil it is. But yet they have it. Go figure, right? But anyway, so a lot of it is also coming from the fact that people are believing what they're being, that shit that people are shoveling to them. And because that's exactly what it is a boatload of crap that our politicians are shoveling to us, saying, you don't want this, even though I have it. It's like when a rich person says, oh, it's a burden to be rich. Really? Well, then just give all your money away. Then you're good, right? But they don't want to do that. But they don't want you to be rich. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of deal. But it also, like I said, boils down to ideology. They think that because it's not written in the Bible, it's not true. If somebody else says something that's not written in the Bible, then they're probably evil. Anyway, that's why they dig in their heels the way they do. They think they're digging in the heels against Satan. Of course they would be against it, right? But is sharing the resources, is helping other people out, is making sure that people are actually fed an evil? Well, I'm not the first to say this, but no, it's not an evil. It's the utmost good. It's manifested love on this planet. But what else do you have to say? Let's say Jesus came to save us out of our sin, which is the cornerstone of our faith, not to unite the entire world of brotherhood. Jesus, after all, said he came to bring a sword. Oh, here we go. I've come to understand this to mean that the peaceful always agitates the violent as the spotlight is turned on them by the nature of contrast. Well, that's an interesting view. I just want to throw this out there for you to look at and for you to consider, Mark. Not saying that what you're saying is incorrect, but according to Benjamin Creme's master, what Jesus was talking about was not an actual sword, but he was talking about the love nature of God, bringing to the surface that of which, who, and what we are. And even though we're not physically within the presence of Maitreya, his love is spread all throughout the world and is saturating the world at a tremendous potency now, because he and these masters are starting to enter the affairs of men, and they're getting closer and closer to the time when we know who they are. And that creates a situation to where their love starts to affect humanity in a way that it didn't before. And it brings to the surface that of which, who, and what we are, without exception. If you're someone who is scared and afraid of the future and of uncertainty of the future and that kind of thing, you become even more afraid and more uncertain of the future. If you're someone perhaps who has latent violent tendencies, but yet it's not manifesting, will all of a sudden just fly off the handle and become violent. And it's this direct result of this energy. But on the other side, if you're someone who's concerned about the environment, you become more concerned about the environment. Perhaps get off your sofa and actually do something about it for a change, right? If you're someone who's loving and has latent loving tendencies, and maybe they weren't manifesting before, now become more loving and it becomes more aware, it becomes more apparent to other people how loving you are based off of this energy. And it's bringing to the surface the corruption in institutions and in governments and so forth in the same way, so that we deal with the corruption in that way. Individually, like I said, so we can deal with and we can see who and what we really are. Even if we don't think we are that, it will become so apparent of who and what we are that we can't deny it anymore. And so the reason why it's happening like this now, and we're seeing the divisions in the world, just as Jesus said, to put brother against brother, father against son, mother against daughter, neighbor against neighbor, as he put it away, is because Maitreya is in very soon will present a choice for humanity to make, to where he will say either we continue on the ways that we're doing and keep doing what we're doing, and it's eventually the result of that is going to be all life on this planet will end. we'll either kill off the environment and then not have any kind of ecosystem or air to breathe, and we will all die that way, or we will kill ourselves militarily because we have the capability of doing it with nuclear weapons, one or the other. So that is what lies ahead if we do not change our ways. The other choice that we have is we accept the principle of sharing. We end hunger. We bring about justice, eventually bring about trust and goodwill amongst the nations, and then eventually bring about manifested peace on this planet, which will give us a future of what Benjamin Creme's master said of the promise of revealed divinity. A future that we can't possibly imagine right now because there isn't any historical precedent of what awaits us if we just come together as a people and see ourselves as one. That's the choice that we have. And we would not be able to make the choice if we weren't experiencing the divisions that we're experiencing. So that's the other reason why. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out there for you to think about and for you to consider. But I do appreciate what you had to say about that. Where is it? I like what you had to say here too. A well-studied believer will say that it is the purpose of the Antichrist to unite all men in universal brotherhood. However, the book of Revelations speaks of a great city coming down from out of the heavens. I used to believe, as many Christians wholeheartedly do, that this is a literal descent from the sky. In this city, none shall want for anything, and all shall live in peace. Most modern-day Christians will never even dare to entertain the idea that the vision of Zion, as given to John, the Revelator, could be the direct result of men striving for unity and sharing across the globe. Hear, hear. You are, I think, speaking exactly to what John was talking about in Revelation, to the heart of it, that the city coming down from the sky, the New Jerusalem that will manifest on this planet, right, is not a city in the Middle East. It's humanity coming together, inspired and galvanized to bring about the changes that we need so that, as you put it, we all live in peace and no one goes hungry and no one goes without. Couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, that's exactly what he was talking about. The New Jerusalem is the new world that we're going to be building, not a city, like I said, in the Middle East. So anyway, and then you talked about some other things, but I want to kind of end it there if that's okay, because I want to get into Razi's questions. But thank you very, very much for your comments and your questions, Mark. I really appreciate it. Couldn't have said some of those things better myself. Now, Razi, he said, just like the Antichrist is an energy, do you not think that the Christ is also an energy rather than a single person? What if the potential of Maitreya lies within us all? I don't agree with waiting for anyone. We are here to save ourselves as no one else can or will. If it were possible, that would be robbing us of our opportunity to gain awareness of our strength and potential, would it not? What if we initially misunderstood the way he would manifest in this world? I don't think we should be looking for what a person might be him, but rather learn and cultivate the qualities of Maitreya within ourselves and learn to recognize them in others. Ooh, wow. That is so true. Maybe it's not about a single person coming to teach humanity. What if it's about large amounts of people embodying his presence and qualities and together teaching humanity? The many acting as one. I have the feeling it's time for massive shifts in perspective. What are your thoughts on this? Well, first of all, my thoughts are thank you so much for your comment and your questions. I really do think that you're onto something there. So let's go back and look at some of the things. So just like the Antichrist is an energy, do you not think that the Christ is an energy rather than a single person? It is. Now, it's not a question of either or, but and. Okay, so the hearts and minds of humanity are waking up to the truth that we are one. In fact, Maitreya even said the greatest, how did he put it? Not the greatest discovery. What did he say? The greatest transformation in the world will be the hearts and minds of humanity in the coming time. Not the technological advances that we imagine will await us if we just accept the principle of sharing. The technology of light, the being able to travel to the stars and those kind of things, as wonderful as that sounds, the greatest transformation will be the hearts and minds of humanity, according to Maitreya. So that divinity is within the hearts of all of us, without exception, that you're talking about. But it's not a question of either or. There is an individual named Maitreya who embodies the love nature of God. He is esoterically the Christ. Now, I'm not putting him up on a pedestal as a demigod, as the Christians do to Jesus. and say, here, worship this man, not Jesus. I'm not saying that. But esoterically, he embodies the love nature of God. That same love nature of God, which is lying latent within the hearts of all of humanity. He's here to awaken that, to inspire and galvanize humanity to see ourselves as one, to come together as one, and thus rebuild and change our world for the better. He won't do it for us. I've never once said that we need to wait for Maitreya to do it, or any one of these masters to do it. It's about us doing it. Now, the other thing, too, I want to say before I start talking about some of the other things is, I don't know your name, RawZ33. I just know your YouTube name, right? But there is something that only you can give to the world that even Maitreya can't give to the world. And they would be the first one to tell you this. You know, you offer something that they can't even offer. And this goes for everyone. You're here for a reason. You're here because you will also help save the world in your own way, if you so choose to do it. But the other thing is, that divinity which is within us, that we are secretly aspiring to manifest in our own lives. If you could think of your highest qualities of yourself, whether that's love or being creative or the joy that you experienced when you were a child, and you could see yourself doing it, you have a vague vision of yourself in the future sometime manifesting that perfectly, let's say, or loving unconditionally in that way, just as Jesus does in the Bible. You can say, ooh, man, if I could do that, that would be amazing, right? We now have examples of what that's like. These masters, every single one of them, without exception, was a human being at some point, living in humanity, living with all the fears that we had, all the anger, all the jealousy, all the comparisons that we all do to each other today, you know, the greed, the competition, they had all that. But through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and through the law of cause and effect, learned to live within the laws of cause and, the cause and effect, and not to infringe upon people's free will. They learned to live harmlessly. They learned to start to see themselves as what they really are, as Maitreya says, the self, and became self-realized and eventually became a master and lived perfectly like that. We have examples like that. We don't even have to read a text. When we see these masters out in the world, we will not have to refer to a textbook to see what they are like. We will be able to see them in our lives, on TV, in the media. We'll be able to see them when they're in our towns and so forth, because Maitreya is going to tour all over the world for years. We'll be able to see him. And also, too, even before he's known for who he is, okay, as people are starting to awaken to the problems of the world that they were perhaps hoping would be solved by somebody else, are starting to accomplish those things, starting to listen to Maitreya like, okay, sharing, or okay, let's do this, or let's do that. There's going to be a massive resistance against who and what Maitreya is at the same time. There are going to be people who are going to be convinced he's the Antichrist. There are going to be people who are fanning the flames that he's the Antichrist, even though they don't believe he's the Antichrist because they're not religious and they have no religious ideology. But yet, because of who and what Maitreya is, because of what he's speaking for and speaking about and his priorities, go totally against their financial interests, right? They will be just as against him as the most ardent, hardcore Christian that sees him as the Antichrist. They'll hate him. But yet we will see a man love them just as much as he loves those people who are working to save the planet. We will see Maitreya in situations where groups will be so divided and hate one another, but yet he'll be able to speak to them in an inclusive way that nobody else could speak like that. And speak in the hearts of both groups, of why they are like what they are, that they're fighting against themselves in that way, maybe, or something, right? But we'll see a perfect example of what it is to love somebody else that hates you. We'll also see a perfect example of what and how Maitreya will be detached from those people who will look up to him and perhaps see him as the Christ and love him in that way, but we'll see him just be just as detached with them as he is with those people who hate him. And love them that way, but yet not feed into that type of admiration that people would have. He's a perfect example of what it is to be a divine human being, just as any one of these masters would be. So we'll have an example of it. It will make it easier for every person's heart to open up and to start to see ourselves as one, because we will see what it's like to live as one from these masters, to love in the way that they do. So it's not a question of either or, but what you're talking about is true. It's the Maitreya within us all. It's the Christ principle within us all. Maitreya himself even said, he goes, don't be attached to the form of the teacher. It's the teachings, which is exactly what I think you're saying, right? But again, it's not a question of either or, but and. And the other thing too is when we finally realize that Maitreya was one of us, was a person, and it's been said by Ben's master that he has experienced every single facet of human existence without exception. Now, I don't know if that's true for every single master. I don't think it is, because his master didn't say that it was, but he was referring to Maitreya as the son of man because he's experienced every single part of humanity, the good and the bad, the painful and the pleasant. What it's like to be totally famous and rich and have admiration and get totally sucked into that, but yet also be poor, rejected, hungry, go hungry, and that's, in a different lifetime. He's experienced every part of life as humanity, and yet worked through it, suffered, toiled through it, and conquered and triumphed over it, and became a divine manifestation of his divinity perfectly. These other masters worked through humanity in that same way, maybe didn't go through every single aspect of human existence, but yet still suffered and painful, had to deal with the law of cause and effect and getting their butt kicked by that and all that kind of thing to eventually they learned to live harmlessly within that law, realized who they were as the self, and became a master. We will see it, but yet it will make it so real for us that we can do it too. And yet they're not going anywhere. They'll be here for the rest of the time, for all through our lives and far into the future. Maitreya will be here along with these other masters, teaching and guiding humanity more and more and more and more and more through the coming age. They're not going anywhere. So every lifetime we'll be able to see that's what it's like to love unconditionally. It'll speed up the process exponentially. So we have help. We have higher help. We have elder brothers that have already gone through what we have gone through, like I was just saying, and triumph. They're our guarantee that we're going to get through it too, right? So anyway, hopefully that helps. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the questions. I look forward to more questions and talking to you guys in the future. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Thank you.